Ahoy Captain, welcome to how to decarbonize your ship, and this is going to be a special episode because we're going to look at multiple vessels, starting off with a passenger ship, and we're going to install shore power for any one of them and see what the impact would be of FuelEU on your business case. We're mostly going to see what happens, of course, to the mandatory ship types, that's passenger ship and container ship, but we'll also have a look how it works for different ship types. So what we'll see, and we're going to call this case study the FuelEU Explorer. Of course, we're going to have 100% CO2 reduction. That's as per the regulations, only when moored, of course. Usually I would say it's about 300k per megawatt in terms of CAPEX investment. In our models, we're usually a little bit more conservative. Then you see a payback normally really depends on your operational profile between 2 to 6 years, and then finally we see daily cost savings of 800 to 3,000 euros for the passenger ship, the larger ships, but especially if you move towards 2050, it's still maybe too far away to keep into your business cases, or well, at least I wouldn't do it, but this is finally up to 2050 what you can save in terms of costs per day. Before we dive into the FuelEU Explorer, let's first dive into the tool itself. Please mind you that all the tools that we used are only a model. Of course, the input that we use is really much dependent on the assumptions. We don't have your ship type, so please be mindful also when you're working with this model itself. It's continuously evolving, we keep on changing and hopefully making improvements on the model itself, and it's made by humans, so sometimes we make mistakes. If you see one, let us know and we can make the model and the tools better. And then finally, everything is made with publicly available data, hence also sometimes we have a little bit less data available, but especially if we can take your ship and add the model or the tool to it, then of course we get the magic. Without further ado, let's just dive into the FuelEU Explorer and see what FuelEU can do for your business case with regards to shore power. And here's the FuelEU Explorer. We're using the Shore Power Quick Scan, but actually a special version of the Shore Power Quick Scan. We made a few changes to better show you the impact of FuelEU. But you can find the tools here at Tools and then Decarbonization. It should be there. Otherwise, you can always click on More. So, as stated, we're going to go for, let's see, passenger ship. A pretty big one. Ship type passenger ship. There we go. And first thing I'm going to do is, I think, change the ship properties because I've had a look. And here we see the auxiliary power is quite high. 21 kilowatts. I'm guessing they need a lot of air conditioning aboard these ships, so that could definitely be the case. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm simply going to go for power demand of 1000. Once I change it later on the ship types, then a new ship is loaded, so you'd have to do this again. So keep in mind that especially for shore power, this is a very important aspect, the auxiliary power. The average load, well, we know that it's approximately 20%, so let's make it 18 to be a bit special, and we're gonna have 180 kilowatt power of average load. We're at the tipping point of low versus high voltage system for shore power, so I'm guessing we're gonna go for high voltage, especially in this case if you know that we can maybe sometimes have more than a megawatt, but I'll show that later. Parasitic load, we can leave it at 0 for now, just to be, well, not on the safe side, but on the easy side. Everything else, have a look. We're going to leave the operational profile here as it is as well. Well, maybe a little bit more shore power days. This is really not much. We're going to go for at least a little bit over half. Well, we'll change it later on, see how it affects the business case. In terms of equipment, we're going to leave everything standard, so probably system type low voltage. Well, we're going to go for high voltage, shouldn't affect everything that much. Mostly switchboard and transformer will affect the cost. So here, as you can see, yeah, so that's about twice as much as I previously stated, a bit on the conservative side, as you can see, but we're just going to leave this for now because we're mostly interested on the impact of FuelEU on the business case, and as we can see here, we still have quite a positive business case. Yeah, there we go. I'm guessing it mostly has to do with the fact that here, yeah, the amount of days using shore power, especially when you have, of course, here we're not even comparing fuel and electricity in this case. So if we do, then we see that in this particular instance, also electricity pricing can be adjusted, MDO pricing can be adjusted, and these usually have the biggest influence on the business case. So I'm just going to go for 35 cents, usually pretty doable, most cases I see, but yeah, so here we have our total savings. We actually pay a little bit extra now for electricity, but we save on all the other aspects, mostly on maintenance, so that's absolutely an important one to have a look at when you are investigating what aspect gives you the most saving, and also your engine cost, etc. But I think what we're going to do now is first focus on FuelEU. As you can see, that already saves you about 311 euros per day in this instance. So let's see what happens if we simply leave everything out. Okay, so this is the business case for FuelEU alone, but I'm just going to show it here because then you can actually see how much per year it would add to your business case. So everything else can be left off, but this is interesting to see. If we move ahead to the future, so reporting year, then you see that especially 20, 40, 50 here. So here the cost savings are a lot more, well, 311, 900. So we're moving from a lot more, well, it's actually not too much more. But okay, so in this particular instance, we have 300 all the way up to roughly 900. So what happens if we add some more days to the mix? Yeah, you can see that the amount of days also greatly impacts the amount of savings, but it only, yeah, also there. So that's good to note. So here, okay. So let's start with 2030 as a sort of a base case. That's actually when FuelEU becomes mandatory for passenger ships. So FuelEU becomes mandatory earlier, but shore power for passenger ships. So here you see you still have about 450 euros per day saved on average over the, of course, compared from conventional day as per the shore power day. And that's also why it is hard to really compare, because we need to discount the total average per year for shore power, including shore power, with the total average per year on the conventional engines. So let me show you. We have a section FuelEU Maritime here. So we need to, and I'm going to directly go to show more, also make some estimates, pretty accurate, up to the nano cubic meter accuracy I see, but we need to check the annual fuel consumption. So it's always a bit of a case to have a look at your own situation and make sure that also the fuel consumptions are correct. But here you can already see that 10-year FuelEU savings on total are still quite a lot when you apply this technology, or when you apply shore power, and then we also need to make sure that the total shore power input here is correct. But as you can see, all the way to 2050, it's quite some savings in total. 6 million, 25 years FuelEU, yeah. I almost never believe these kind of things, and well, because it's just so much money. But have a look at the formulas that we apply here. I gotta say, those will change, of course, in the future. Right now, with FuelEU, they take into account that you can just simply remove the CO2 emissions from electricity. So once that's added in maybe 5 or 10 years, then it's going to be totally different. But still, you can play around here and see again how much you would save per year conventionally compared to shore power, and then of course discount it over the amount of shore power and regular days per year. But this is still a pretty nice 10-year FuelEU savings, and considering we had a CAPEX of about 600,000 conservatively, this was still, well, 10 years, of course. I wouldn't really invest in something that gives you a payback for 10 years with regards to ships. You definitely have need different assets for that, but well, it's obliged, you get your money back, so that's at least good to hear. Moving on to different ships, so let's see if we take a container ship. There we go, all the way on the top. Oh, that's not good, but I think also here everything now is reloaded again. So if we go to power demand, yeah, this is a biggie. Doesn't matter, we're still going to see how it would impact our total business case. Let's see if we can change FuelEU. Those prices are still the same. Okay, so fine, we're just gonna leave it as is for now. And here we see for 2027, this should be the same as 2025, about 1,000 euros per day fuel saved if we look at a conventional versus a shore power day. So in this case, 90 days shore power, 27. So what if we do just 90-90? Okay, of course better. Well, we're not going to do much more days shore power than that. So and here you see something really interesting, and I was a bit confused at first, but you see that the FuelEU savings go to zero, or the FuelEU costs go to zero. So let me show you in the table below what's actually happening. At some point here, you actually dive below the greenhouse gas intensity required between 2025 and 2030. And then at that point you don't have to pay any penalties per year. So then having more shore power, as you can see, doesn't improve your business case, but then you know that, okay, at roughly 60 days, let's see, okay, well, it doesn't really matter much, but between 60 and 70 days, you can see that your greenhouse gas intensity dips below 89.34, and then you simply have €0 on average penalty per year. And that's a pretty decent savings, and mind you, this is only for FuelEU. So if we have a look here, let's see if we add everything. Oh well, we're still paying a lot more for conventional fuel. So in this case, we would definitely need to adjust the fuel price, or the fuel price, the electricity price, a lot, I have to say. What if we add EU ETS? Slightly better. Maintenance also not too much, because well, the more we consume, the less relatively maintenance will impact our cost, but that could still be a case. Well, this is not making me very excited, I have to say. This is not too big of a business case, but I guess we have to take your ship, have a look at the CAPEX, see what can be done about it, etc., etc. Because here, of course, we have quite some CAPEX out. Still savings, of course, but it all depends on how you input the case itself. So let's have one final look at maybe a smaller ship, or not a tanker, because they'll probably be a bit trickier. Just a bulk carrier. And here we see the same applies, of course, removing maintenance, spares, consumables, EU ETS. So 400 roughly. Moving ahead, it would be 1,000. So that's mostly the range of FuelEU, all the way up to 2050 for different ship types. And then if we can have a look at the total table, let's see. FuelEU savings, again, same orders of magnitude with given these assumptions. There we go. Yeah. So maybe if we 15,000, maybe we can dip again below that certain threshold. Yeah, here we have the same mechanisms working. Perhaps you can, even with a few adjustments, go below 85.69 grams CO2 equivalent per megajoule, and then you might even not have to pay penalties until 2034-5. Yeah, so this is interesting. So savings of up to €1,000 roughly per day, conventional day, versus a shore power day. And that's it for the FuelEU Explorer. A difficult case, a lovely case, a very interesting case, not just because we looked at multiple vessels, but mostly because FuelEU is just so darn complicated. Yearly averages, yearly fuel consumptions, daily shore power versus conventional assumptions, etc. It is quite hard to compare. Luckily, as a member, if you sign up, you can download all the tools, have a look at it yourself, get help from us to make your own business case better. So sign up today to make your life easier, and have a great day on top of that.